Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for a Learning and Growing webinar. The first class is the most important class. Our presenter today is Brian Lynch of Lakeland College. My name is Sidra, and I'll be your moderator for today for Hawks Learning. We will have a live Q&A session after the presentation, so please enter any questions you have into the Q&A module as we go, and we'll be sure to answer them at the end. I'll now hand it over to our presenter.
Good afternoon, good morning, depending where you're coming from. If you're probably from Pacific time, Eastern time, maybe even international. So thank you to Hawks Learning for allowing me to spend the next 45 minutes to an hour with you. And basically, I expect this all to interact today, and I have a few slides set up. So first of all, I want to get the technical stuff out of the way. If you all could possibly go to, if you could go to a, right, you can you give me a thumbs up, guys, if you, oh, okay. So share my screen. All right. Okay, let's do this again. So let's do this now. So if you can see a PowerPoint, guys, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. Okay, yeah, all right. So go to slido.com and type in 2023, okay? That is a polling device that I'm going to be using today. And you don't need to put your name in. And I use this a lot in my classes. There is other versions out there. And basically what happens is you'll go to slido.com or use the QR code, and then you'll type in, don't worry about the hashtag, just type in 2023, and then questions will come up and you will be able to answer those questions. Okay, so let's see, I got a question. Oh, it's going to be 20000223. And Alana, can you see, Alana, can you see my screen? Can you see my PowerPoint slide?
Yep, I can see it.
Perfect. Okay. All right. Every system is different, and as I said before, I realize that for teachers, a lot of times, especially with digital stuff, the tech issues can be our own worst nightmare. So, okay. Okay, James, that's a great question. So just to let you guys know, if Slido doesn't work, we're just going to put the answers in chat. So, but right now, you shouldn't be able to do anything. Once you log in there, questions will come up. But just like any good teacher, I have a backup plan. And if Slido doesn't work, we'll just put our answers in the chat. So don't freak out if something doesn't happen. All right. So as I said, take a deep breath. As I said, I have to tell my students, if my way of delivering the information doesn't work, we try a different way. All right. So quick information about me is I can get this slide to work. All right. So a little bit about me. I'm actually originally from Ireland. A lot of people actually think I'm from Chicago or Wisconsin or from Chicago. I've been over in this country for about 30 years. I've been teaching economics for the last 24 years or so. If I see any chat comments in the chat box about Lucky Charms, the host, Hawks Learning, will dismiss you from the webinar post. Okay, and that's actually a joke because I make jokes about myself, about Lucky Charms. So Lakeland College is actually halfway in between Chicago and St. Louis. So if you have a map in front of you, you can roughly find it there. It's a 2-year public college. You can see the breakdown of full-time, part-time. It's pretty close. The age of our students is 75% roughly 16 to 22. Roughly 25% is 23 plus, and we have roughly 50%. So it's great that this college will give me the opportunity to be able to do that. So I appreciate the comments, and basically, guys, today is we're going to make the first day of classes important, because this is your chance to sell your class. This is your chance to get people excited. All right. So what if you think, I always wish I could make my first day a little bit better? How could I do that? Okay. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to figure out ways to do that, are based on things that I've learned and things that I've done. So we're going to introduce ourselves. I'm going to talk about tips for your syllabus. We're going to talk about engaging students, some of the pitfalls, and then I'm going to ask you guys at the end for your tricks and success stories. All right. So we all want to be superheroes, and we can actually do that. And I'm actually not going to ask you to do it right now, because you may end up logging off, which I don't know if you want to do that or not. But if you want to, and what I want you guys to do is, I want you guys to stand up. You put your hands on your hips. You stick your chest out, and you say, "I'm a superhero today." Now you're like, "I don't want to do that right now," and that's perfectly fine. I do that with my fellow faculty. I do that with my fellow students. And you know what? They think it's dorky, but guess what? It totally relaxes them. So don't worry about doing it now, because I can't see you guys. And plus, standing up when you're on a Zoom camera can be kind of awkward for people. So everybody here has made mistakes, correct? Raise your hand if you've made mistakes. Raise your hand if you've ever failed. Raise your hand if you wish you learned more. Yeah. As I said, yeah, we all have, right? Well, guess what? That's how our students feel. So basically go to Slido, and what do you teach? And are you happy with how your first day goes? So if Slido doesn't work, let's put it in chat. So we have Slido and the chat. So what do you teach? And are you happy with how your first day goes? So Sidar, if you want to be the chat monitor and read off, if they do it in Slido, that's great. So what do you teach, and are you happy with how your first day goes? So a yes or a no. So if you teach high school sociology, just put in like HS, SOC, and so on. Okay.
So we have some psychology, we have French, English, college math.
And are they happy how their first day goes?
Most people are happy.
Okay.
Goes well on the day one. Usually
But
happy on the first day.
Yeah, but as we said, are we making an impression on our first day? And if you guys are, great, because then you can actually turn around next week and you guys can present, and I probably learn a lot from you guys. So what do we have out there? Sidar, a good mix of French, German, sociology.
College accounting, undergraduate sociology, and it depends on the day. Mathematics, happy with how the first day goes.
Oh, good.
Psychology, okay.
And so I've done my job. If you're all really happy, I can be done. No, does it? So, but what if we always want to make things better? You're only as good as your last lecture, right? That I tell myself. We always want to improve, because if we think we've finally done it, that's when we feel like we're downfalling. And right now, I'm not going to mess with showing the results on Slido, because right now I'm happy to get the slides to work. But so right now I'm just sort of crossing my fingers and praying that everything works out so far. So basically, guys, this is your chance to make your first class. Okay, what does that mean? Make your first class. Yeah. When I first heard this, it took me about 5 minutes to figure it out. Why is this being repeated? And then I realized what was behind it. So I borrowed this quote from a friend of mine. So I'm a big fan of Will Ferrell. I like to incorporate that into my lectures. So this is a great, a lot of you will have really good maybe technology centers, but I came across this one, and it's from Vanderbilt, and it's and you can explore it as I'm teaching, because maybe like you, I have a little bit of ADHD, and during a presentation, even though it's a great presentation, if I see a link, I'm like, oh, I'll check that out, and then I'll be like, oh crap, I forgot what the presenter was saying. So check that link out. Vanderbilt has an awesome center, and they have an awesome guide about what to do, not only on your first class, but in general. So proper preparation, right? Maybe I didn't prepare as well as I could, but as I said, since Slido didn't work and I didn't want to tempt fate, I'm going to basically have the chat as a backup. And Sidar is doing a great job reading stuff for me. Okay. So, yeah, if guys, as I said, don't worry about Slido, because I know as teachers, our brain is the minute we see something, we're like, it has to work, right? Let's go old school today. So I show my students this clip all the time, and I tell them, look, if you use bad materials like a hockey stick and 2x4s to make bunk beds, the result isn't going to be pretty. And we need to do the same thing as teachers, right? We need to over prepare, right? Like make 1,000 copies instead of 800. Make 75 copies instead of 55, right? We need to make sure, even on day one, if the technology isn't working, what else can we do, right? Because you're asking those students on a sunny day in August or September to give up 2 or 3 hours of their day, and you come in and tell them after 10 minutes stuff isn't working. Some of those students might feel like they were robbed, even though you have intentionally done it. All right. So, but be realistic about your own strengths. I love dogs, and this clip isn't about cruelty to dogs, because it's not, right. And that hedge, I think, is soft, but there's times when we're that dog, right? When we want to do everything, but we also need to have a work-life balance as well. Okay. So, oh, cool. So as I said, try Slido. There's going to be the Slido people and the non-Slido people. And as I said, this is my first time using it on a Zoom. So, I'll get feedback from Sidar, from you at the end, and lessons learned, just like I do for my students. Okay, so, all right, guys, I believe that this slide is heresy, right? Hands up if you think looking at this picture is food heresy. Who thinks this picture is an insult to mac and cheese people? Yeah. Well, our students will do this, right? Everything is microwavable. They have 5 minutes. The first couple of minutes are vital. Not good mac and cheese, no. But guess what? Our students, right? They wake up 10 minutes before class. They grab a Prime Energy drink. They grab a Monster drink. If I tried even a sip of one of those, I think I'd be ended up probably collapsed. So guess what, guys? The first couple of minutes are vital. So, guys, this is a link that I'll send at the interview. But I read in a presentation that your audience tunes out after a blank minute. So in the chat, if you want to tell me, how many minutes do you think your audience will tune out after? And Sidar said that Hawks will be willing to give the winner $100 Amazon gift card if they're right. I just made that up actually. Okay. All right. So okay, I see 3, 20, 30, okay. 7, okay. 12, 5, 12, okay. 10 minutes. Now, that's what I read. Doesn't mean that's the gospel, but you've got essentially those first 10 minutes to get their attention, right? And as I said, if you want to share a story, go ahead. Look, I have an hour, but I'm not too worried if we don't get to slide X. That's not how I will feel today. So if somebody wants to jump in and share a story in a few minutes, yeah. So, but we check our phones. Check. We check. Sorry, I have what the expression never work with dogs and kids. I have a kid down here, and students come in late, correct? And also I'm glad that someone said that, because as Kim said, the first day of class, student goes to like Kim Hall instead of Ken Hall, and they're freaking out and they're stressed. All right, and we also want to make sure that those people are welcome. So yeah, Sidar, if you wanted to, sorry, my brain is getting me to the chat. So if you see anything in chat, Sidar, that you want to let me know, interrupt me, let me know, and go ahead. So guys, make your syllabus preppy and funny. So put something in there like that gets their attention, that breaks down the material. So they're no longer just looking at a bland template, right, that the college has asked you to put out, which I have no problem with, right? So a Google Slide syllabus. So Margie, would you mind for maybe about 40 seconds, just not sharing, but just tell us kind of exactly what you put in there? And if not, go ahead, Margie.
Participants don't have the ability to speak. They can put their responses in the chat.
Oh, they don't see what?
They're not able to speak.
Oh, so they can't see everyone else's chat. Is that right?
They can see everybody else's chat, but they can't speak to everybody else.
Oh, okay. So, okay, not a problem. So, all right. So, yeah, and there's different ways to put your syllabus. I put mine online. I also have a hard copy, but spruce up your syllabus. Use Canva, right? Yeah, the class, the photos, the GIFs, and spruce it up. Find something, whether if you teach genetics or sociology or French. As I said before, can you imagine when you were in college and you got your syllabus and you just looked at it and you're just like, it's overwhelming. I'm never going to read it. And what if something was there to like chunk up information? You're just like, okay, I'll read this. And it will draw you in. And I know it sounds like I'm sort of trying to be sort of cheesy, but from my experience, the first day, students are actually laughing and they're looking at it and they're going, oh, I recognize this guy. So so it's pretty interesting. All right. So my kids and my dog are basically putting me through the ringer today, but in a good way. So avoid using the word office hour. All right. So definitely okay. So Kim said we're limited to the format the school gives us. Sometimes we use the syllabus song. So so I don't say don't deviate from the template, but put your own spin on it, right? So it's sort of like we're all making the same cake, but we can all put our own flourish on it. So if this link doesn't work, as I told Sidar, but guys, can you imagine, remember being in high school and you were asked to come to the office? It was usually because you were getting attention, or because your caregiver or parent was there to give you your backpack that you left at home, right? For PE or for athletics. And when the teacher, and this is a TikTok video that if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but it's kind of stressful. And they come into a college and they hear the word office, and now they think, it doesn't sound good, right? So what I'm going to ask you guys to do is, can we come up with a better term? I use cafe office hours. They can find me in the local restaurant, which is right on campus. They can find me at a coffee house. I have virtual office hours. They can find me sitting outside on a warm day, under the shade. Okay, so what we're going to do next, because if Slido doesn't work, and can we come up with a better term, guys? So, guys, so let's go ahead in the chat and can we come up with a better? Can you guys come up with a better term for office hours? I use the word discussion. Well, let's what's the word? Brainstorm. Come up with a better word. Student time. I like that. I'm actually writing those down, guys. So meet and greet and eat. You could have some food for them as well. I like that. Yeah. Informal review. Yeah. In fact, I'm not writing these down because I realize this is being recorded. So appointment hours. Yeah. So guys, think about it. We think the word office hours makes sense, but to them, when they were in high school, being called to the office was normally like, not to be suspended, but something they weren't comfortable with. Meeting times, yeah. Hours in my office, yeah. I love the meet and greet and eat, because what if they came to your office and you gave them an energy bar, or you gave them a kind of prime, or something like that. Yeah, and you're right. if a student comes to my office, it's normally because they're late. I get that, Charles. Yeah. A lot of times they're emailing you like a lot. I think ever since, even before COVID, with Canvas or Brightspace or Noodle, whatever LMS we use. But either way, I know consulting. They expect us to be there like, well, wait a minute, you're here the whole day. Can I just pop in? You're like, no, because I've 1 hour was when I can deal with you guys. The other time is when I'm actually doing work for the school. So I love those guys, and those are awesome. So consulting, I like that as well. So yeah, as I said, guys, if you haven't already, maybe in August or September, when your classes start, come back and come up with a better term. I'm sorry, or maybe not a better, but maybe a different term. All right. So, all right. So, guys, here's one that's near and dear to my heart. And there's tons of links out there, so I'm not going to give you the expert on this because I'm not. But if we want to, let's create an inclusive classroom, right? We have to respect student privacy surrounding names, and not necessarily because of diversity, but also because what if you have an individual in a relationship that they want to change their name, right? So make sure we have student privacy surrounding names. So instead of reading off the roster, which maybe we did in the past, have your students maybe either share their own names, all right? Or maybe give them an index card. Also, avoiding dead naming. So what that means is, what if John Smith is on the roster, but they are transitioning to, Skylar Parks? Okay, and then you read off this name, and there could be some uncomfortableness. So, as I said, if you Google the word dead naming, you'll get a lot better expertise than me. But, and if maybe your school has what we call safe zone training. Maybe you have a diversity officer, maybe you have a diversity office, but as I said, regardless of what situation the student comes from, we just want to make sure that we have student privacy, whether it's online or face-to-face, in terms of respecting their names, okay? So, okay, I like that, Charles. You circle, and sorry, Sridhar, I didn't mean to be taking your job away. She's like, thanks. So actually, Sridhar, from now on, if you just want to go ahead and read the chat, I'll let you do that, because my ADD is making me check chat. So I'll let you be the official chat reader. So
Will
go ahead.
will do.
Sorry. And then okay, so now my slides are okay. So all right. So FW, guys, what do we think that stands for? Any idea?
So we have a comment that they initially fill in their name with what's on the roster and project it as they take attendance. So they'll adjust it to whatever their preferred or requested name is.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Thank you, Sridhar.
Mhm.
So what do we think the F stands for, guys? Someone's like, I don't want to kick that as, yeah, exactly. Or thank you, Kelly, for students for waste treatment, maybe frigging, yeah. Or as I said, right, because our students come in day one, not that they want to be entertained, but now obviously some of our classes, right, we need to do stuff. So like so flipping or freaking what, right? Graded material, right? So make sure that my dog wants to somehow, so I'm going to mute now, guys, and I'm going to ask my son to grab the dog. Sorry, guys. I think my dog was trained to decide to bark randomly. So, all right. So graded material. What else is to also use the real world. Now I realize for some of your classes, it may not lend itself, but try to, maybe if your class has real world applications. I'm really lucky with economics. Like we can talk about Taylor Swift, we can talk about gas prices, we can talk about ramen noodles, we can talk about Bud Light. I mean, well, I try to stay away from that in some classes, just not to be, necessarily condoning or sort of encouraging alcohol, but use guest speakers, right? Maybe if you have guest speakers in your class as well. But I'm not saying you need to do this, right? This is not me as some expert being paid to consult. But we want to be storytellers. Was at a webinar recently, and somebody called it intellectual streaking. What they said is, don't be afraid to share a little bit about yourself. Doesn't mean you're weak in the eyes of the students. It could be your identity. It could be how you identify. It could be whatever you want. But sometimes it's okay to intellectually streak, because even though it might make us feel kind of exposed, it might help the students feel more comfortable. Remember, you guys just told me you've failed before. You're worried that you don't know enough. You've made mistakes, right? Our students are coming in with that sort of mindset as well. So make the first class memorable. That's what I do. I bring in swag bags, right? That I get them from local businesses, and I have people on campus that I email nicely about a month or two before, and they give me a bunch of like phone chargers and koozies, whatever you put your drinks or sodas in. And what I do there is I actually use the swag bags to teach the concept of trade. And if the students are happy with their bags and if they want to trade, and we talk about terms of trade. And here was I do with the post-it notes. What I tell my students is I say, look, I say, and I say, I need a volunteer. And also, guys, there's a website, and if somebody wants to put it in the chat, it's called wheelofnames.com. If somebody wants to be the Googler, I completely brain farted and forgot to put it in. But I put up a Wheel of Names website, and I put all the names in, or maybe student IDs, and it brings it up. And let's say John is the person who gets called, and they want to do this. I say, John, I want you to put the post-it note as high as you possibly can. And guess what? What does John do? Maybe John is 5'7", and they put the post-it up. And then I say to John, look, is that really the highest you could go? And John says, what? I say to the students, look, John didn't ask me, could they stand on a chair? John didn't ask me, could he get help from other students, right? So what I tell my students is, think critically, ask for help from other students, and ask me questions. Now, I tried this with an in-class workshop, and the people who attended, teachers, from the get-go, they knew what to do. And I was just like, crap. I mean, I was joking, but the students from the get-go, they're kind of like, wow, a post-it note, which costs what, like 0.2 cents, gets in their mind already, right? So something memorable to do. Is this our teaching style? All right. Do we hide? Is this your class? Yeah. COVID has made people disengage, right? It's made people, and this is a class in Texas. I can't remember which college that normally has 200 people. All right. Now, if they can find this on YouTube, then why are we here? Right? Right? Let's ask ourselves that. Right? Kim or anybody else whose names I remember just popped in. If they can find a lecture on YouTube, what reason would they have to turn up for our lecture, right? They're looking for return on investment. We don't blame them, right? I know people think, well, it sounds like they want to be entertained. They're giving up X amount of their time, right? They've spent maybe a year and a half or a year, at home on COVID or interacting with a computer, right? So I can explain it to you, but I can't understand it for you. Why I ran out of, I would have asked you guys questions about this when I put this up. What are the reasons that students disengage, right? This is our students skipping classes. I live in Illinois, so I'm jealous. I wouldn't have this. So, yeah, I don't have the sound like this. They don't understand the expectations, right? Maybe we haven't put them clearly. Too many distractions. I'm really bad at this, right? I could be listening to a webinar, but I could be checking email. I could be checking a trend forecast because maybe I have attention deficit issues, right? Or they have never been exposed to a learning community. The material is boring. Well, guess what? Sometimes you can do the best you can. Or maybe there's other reasons as well. All right. So we have our work cut out for us, especially since COVID, right? Students are afraid. I don't allow any buts in my classroom. So Sidar, I believe we have a message in the chat. Is that right?
Yep, they don't understand the material. Why if they don't try on what's going on?
Okay, so
Someone else
okay.
said they try to use slides, YouTube videos, TED Talks, guest speakers, and interactive
Okay.
discussions in an effort to keep students engaged, but it never works with everyone.
Okay, I'm glad. That's a great segue, Siddharth. And thank you, Kim, the other person who said that. It's almost like they were reading my presentation. What I do is I use entry tickets and exit tickets in my class all the time. Or it's a classroom assessment technique. So my entry ticket is basically at the beginning of class, I ask them a question. An exit ticket, I ask them a question as well. And guess what? At the end, I can read through those tickets and I can say, you know what? I thought my lecture was the best lecture in the world. And guess what happened? That lecture went down like a lead balloon. Okay? So it's a constant. Exactly. I know, Dorothy, you're right. We reach the best we can. Every student wants to take part and some don't. And you know what, Dorothy? As you said earlier, we don't want to be that dog jumping into the hedge, right? And also, guys, here's what I do too, is I have an accountability partner at work, which sounds kind of weird. I don't mean accountability, but I have somebody, even if they don't teach econ, I go to them and say, you know what, I did this today and it went in. And I talk to them about it. And I encourage our fellow faculty to have accountability partners. Oh, okay. Kelly, you have a great question. So, Kelly had a great question. So, Kelly, sorry guys, I'm getting sinuses again. So, Kelly had a question. So, an exit ticket, Kelly, is basically so. Kelly, can you type in the chat what you teach? Oh wow. Okay. So, oh, I love those classes. Okay. Those classes I would geek out. So, Kelly, I'm gonna say that you might be using like, I don't know, like some some we're, the thing is, if our students were like us, we wouldn't have a job, right? So basically what an exit ticket is essentially in a nutshell is a way of assessing, kind of like whether it's like a polling thing. It's sort of like, okay, it shows they don't even have to get the answer right. You kind of ask them, okay, like or you what is the answer to this quick statistic problem? Or you can ask them like, what was really clear about today's lecture? What was as clear as mud? And what was okayish? So the entry ticket is also a way of sort of seeing how much they remember coming in as well. And by the way, as I said, guys, you have the ability to get on the internet, and there's tons of examples of exit and entry tickets in many different disciplines as well. So I don't want to bore you guys, but if you don't want to poll your students, it's kind of a quiz, but without like them actually feeling like they're going to be quizzed. And then you can read over those and you go, oh my goodness, I had this. So Kelly had this great lecture on, the new DSM, and the students basically just tuned her out because, or him or her out because we don't know why. So I don't allow students to use butts in my classroom. All right. So, or cigarette butts as well. Here's the problem, guys, right? What did COVID do to our bodies? So somebody had something in chat.
Yep, they recommended the 3-2-1 is a good exit ticket. 3 things you learned, 2 things you have questions about, 1 thing
Okay, 3 things
you'd like to
I
share
love
with
that, Marge.
others. You can change them up as appropriate for your class.
Thank you. That's awesome. Awesome. I love that. And I'm glad we can all I'm glad we're going to have a recording of the chat. So look what COVID did to our bodies and our minds, right? I just read an article there, what was it, in the New York Times or the Washington Post, and they're trying to study what long-term COVID is even doing to people's brains, right? So think about what our students are going through. And our students come in with this lack of self-esteem, right? TikTok, social media has messed them up. And I tell my students, stop comparing yourself to others. They're so much more important in their GPA and your accomplishments, right? you're all awesome in your own way. Now, obviously, that's easier said than done when we have life experience coming in. But you know what? Our students are so much more than a GPS. So, guys, there's a term called, I want to go back to this. There's a term called allostatic overloads. And it's allostatic. And I'll put it in the chat. And basically, oh, thank you. And basically, guys, what it means is, like, just like the waves hitting the rock, think about what COVID has done to people's minds and bodies. And they walk into their class, and Kelly, you know all about this, teaching psychology. They're exhausted, right? They're worn out. We're worn out as well. So this is a colleague in Montreal whose name is Marilyn Peacock. And this is the joke: when her students first saw her in person, this is how they reacted after COVID. So I appreciate you letting me share that meme. So they're just as scared as you, right? Maybe have a fun, maybe use Kahoot, maybe use Slido, maybe come up with three true, one false. Like maybe you are a raccoon racer. Maybe you are a backup dancer for Taylor Swift or Bad Bunny. Go over the course outline. Teach them something on the first day, guys. I can't stress this enough. Otherwise, if you're bringing them in saying, hey, this is Econ 101, you could do that from home. They wouldn't have to get out of bed. So make sure you do something substantial on your first day. Do a stress hope inventory, and I'll go over this really quickly. What are some barriers to learning on an index card? And on the other side, what inspires them every day? Right? Have them do that, and then have them turn it into you with their name on it as well. So you already have an idea of sort of what's going through their minds. Make an impression. What about a selfie assignment on their first day? I hate this picture because I'm afraid of heights, and this person is psycho, but only because I hate heights. Right? We're part of the learning community. All right. Think of us as helping students climb up a mountain. Think of them helping students to ride a bike. All right. Some students can ride a bike when they're 8. Some students could be 18. Right. So be there to guide them. Be there to help them. Right. Be there when they crash. There is always hope. We can't do everything, as Dorothy said, or I apologize if I couldn't remember your name. We can't do everything, guys. We can't fix everything. But we can do little things. And those little things go a long way. Do the work your soul must have. Okay? Do the work your soul must have. But that clashes with admin, right? And many of us are expected to be a health, a personal coach, an instructor. Right? Who's caring for us if we're doing all this stuff for students? So which one is going to win out? So thank you, Dorothy. Okay, I couldn't remember. So do the work your soul must have. I can't stress that enough. Okay. The journey, the destination. So basically, guys, we want to direct them to the places that will help them learn. We're also having to cultivate their attention within the actual moment of the classroom experience. There's 2 links you can go to that I've read, and they're awesome links from EdSurge and from the Chronicle as well. Really great links about lack of student engagement and the hard role. As someone said earlier, we do our best, and sometimes our students fail, but it's not because of us. They have extenuating circumstances, right? Maybe dealing with grief, maybe dealing with attention deficit, maybe dealing with work. So in the chat, guys, since Slido didn't work, and I'm not stressing about it. Sorry, I love that movie and this clip. I shouldn't be laughing at my own jokes. That's really weird. So there's my email address. And you know what? In the chat, I was gonna do breakout rooms, but you know what? I don't want to what's the word, jinx it. So in the chat feature, does anyone want to share what they do to make the syllabus matter? So go ahead in the chat, guys. and I know there's 57 of you, and if all 57 of you do it, if 55 do it, so go ahead now in the chat and share how you make the syllabus matter. Because I'll be listening to this afterwards, and I want to take down some useful tips. So go ahead.
We have show short comedy videos. Add
I
Easter
love it. So
eggs.
Margie, is that real Easter eggs? No, actually not. That we could do that. Quiz online. I love that, Kelly. Yeah. And Nina, when you get a chance, can you tell us what that clip involves? Or even put the link in. I love that. Dorothy, too long, don't need. So Dorothy, you do a movie syllabus? And if you want, can you put that link in there as well, Dorothy? Thank you, Nina. So I think, Siddhar, I've actually got to the 45 minutes. So this is Q&A, or this is sharing stuff, and we'll talk to each other. So basically, Siddhar, I mean, you're the host, you're facilitator, so I've got to my part of teaching.
Sure. If there are any questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat box or the Q&A module, so we can go ahead and answer them for you.
Okay.
So are there any recommendations?
No, Kelly. Sorry, Kelly. Oh, sorry, Kelly. I'm not. It's, as I said before, it's kind of like you could watch. Sorry, you could read 800 websites that says do teach, 800 that says don't. But whatever you do, you have to make it meaningful on the first day. You have to make it to where they show up and go, there's a reason I showed up, because otherwise they could just all stay at home and tune into your class. So hopefully that answered your question, Kelly. Is that right? Okay. Nina, I didn't see the clip. Can you tell me what show that's from? It says season 2, episode 17. Was that SpongeBob? Or I can't remember. Season 2, episode 17. Oh, Laura, I get it, right? Which is longer, War and Peace or your syllabus? And it's pretty much a close tie, right, Laura? So if and I bet your department chair is kind of like, or your admin is saying, yep, you have to use this. That's what the lawyers want. That's what you're supposed to put in there, which I think is great, but we need to break it up. We need to make it to where our students, like, just think about it when we read something on the internet or read something in the news. Think about how we read stuff, how our minds are attracted. So I'll stick around for questions. Oh, thank you, Dorothy. Dorothy put a link in there. I appreciate it, Dorothy. Thank you. And then Nina, I couldn't, for some reason, it was season 17, but it didn't pull up. Oh, I don't think, you know what, Dorothy? You have my email address on the slide. So if you want to email it to me later on, that's great. So thank you. And then Kelly, can you tell me what season that was, or what show that was? Episode 17, procrastinate. Oh, okay. So I think Siddhar, are you able to, like, if Dorothy was able to share that link, is there any way you could put that link out, or what would be a way that everyone could access Dorothy's link, or what would be the efficient way for Dorothy to share that link?
So the link that she shared is a personal link. So it's a personal link to her SharePoint. It's not a link that's public to everybody.
Okay.
So
All right. So and guys, if you want to take down Dorothy's email name, then you can always email her as well, because that's probably what I'll plan to do as well once I read back over this. So as I said, it's 11:51, could be 9:51 or 8:51, or it could be 7 o'clock, depending where you are. I'll stick around for questions, and if people want to keep posting stuff in the box, that's fine. If not, I really appreciate Hawks Learning giving me the opportunity to talk and share for 45 minutes. Okay, so thank you. Ash and Aslam, I think Sidar, should I, what's the word? Hand it back over to you.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'll take it right
oh,
back.
let me put the email address in the chat, and then I will stop talking.
Sure. Thank you, Brian, and thank you all for attending today. We will be emailing you a link to view the recording of this webinar once it's available. If you or any of your fellow instructors are interested in presenting for our Learning and Growing webinar series, please submit your proposals to the Learning and Growing website, which I'm going to go ahead and link in the chat right now for easy access. These free webinars are brought to you by Hawks Learning, an innovative educational courseware company. To learn more about our mastery-based course materials and how Hawks can enhance learning outcomes for you and your students, please visit hawkslearning.com, and I hope everyone has a great rest of your day. Thank you all for attending.
How do I make this bigger again? Okay. I'll make this bigger. Oh, thank you guys. You guys definitely helped out a lot. Sidar, how do I make my Zoom window big again? Oh, would you mind, I think Aslam had a question about this certificate. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Max. So I think Aslam had a question about the certificate, and if you want to put that in the chat or on voice again.
Sure. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and email them. Certificates will be sent out after the recording.
So yeah, I'll stick around for a couple of more seconds, but if I won't keep anyone here. Oh, thank you, Aslam. And so Sirha, do you need anything else from me?
No, I think that's it. I'm going to go ahead and close out the webinar. Thank you so much for your presentation.
Oh, and thank you for allowing me to do it. And I think it's an awesome opportunity that Hawks Learning is willing to allow higher ed and secondary ed instructors to be able to do opportunity like this.
Absolutely. I hope you have
Thank
a great
you.
rest of your day. Thank you.
You too. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.